Success often appears distant because people spend more time chasing outcomes than developing themselves. They believe that if they work harder, move faster, and worry more, life will eventually reward them. Yet the greatest opportunities rarely belong to the most desperate person in the room. They belong to the one who has learned patience, emotional discipline, and quiet confidence. Human nature constantly tempts us to rush. We compare our progress with others, fear being left behind, and mistake movement for meaningful progress. This anxiety causes people to make poor decisions, enter the wrong relationships, abandon worthwhile goals too early, and sacrifice long-term success for immediate satisfaction. Every meaningful achievement begins with mastering the one thing that influences every decision you make: your emotions. Most people spend their lives trying to control circumstances, convince other people, or force opportunities to appear, yet they neglect the one area that truly belongs to them. Human nature reacts before it reflects. A single criticism can destroy an entire day. A delay creates frustration. A rejection produces self-doubt. An unexpected obstacle leads to panic. When emotions control your behavior, your direction changes according to every external event. You become like a ship without an anchor, constantly pushed by the winds of circumstance instead of guided by purpose. This is why emotional mastery is the first victory every successful person must achieve. A calm mind makes better decisions than an anxious one because it sees reality instead of reacting to fear. When your emotions remain steady, you stop confusing temporary setbacks with permanent failure. You understand that every challenge contains information instead of seeing every difficulty as a personal attack. Many opportunities are lost not because people lack talent, but because they lose control at the wrong moment. They speak in anger, quit in frustration, or make desperate decisions because they cannot tolerate temporary discomfort. One emotional reaction can destroy years of patient effort. A person who learns to pause before responding gains an advantage that cannot easily be measured. They observe instead of assuming. They think before speaking. They evaluate before acting. This quiet discipline protects them from countless mistakes that others repeatedly make. Consider how often people chase success from a place of fear. They rush into relationships because they fear loneliness. They accept poor opportunities because they fear missing out. They abandon meaningful goals because progress seems slow. Anxiety convinces them that something must happen immediately, but life rarely rewards desperation. Desperation clouds judgment because it focuses only on immediate relief instead of long-term wisdom. A relaxed mind, however, understands that meaningful success follows preparation rather than panic. It recognizes that timing matters just as much as effort. This does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means remaining composed while continuing to move forward with discipline. Emotional mastery also changes the way others respond to you. People naturally trust individuals who remain calm during uncertainty. When everyone else becomes overwhelmed by pressure, the person who maintains clarity stands out without needing to demand attention. Their confidence is not loud because it does not depend on proving itself. It is built upon self-control rather than emotional excitement. This quiet stability influences conversations, strengthens relationships, and creates leadership because people feel secure around those who remain composed during difficult moments. Every day provides opportunities to strengthen this ability. Instead of reacting immediately when criticized, pause and examine whether the criticism contains useful truth. Instead of allowing disappointment to define your mood, ask what lesson the experience offers. Instead of fearing uncertainty, focus on what you can improve today. Small habits like these gradually reshape your thinking. Over time, you become less controlled by circumstances and more guided by principles. You begin recognizing that peace is not created when life becomes perfect. It is created when your inner world remains steady despite external challenges. This calmness gives you patience, and patience allows you to continue working while others give up. As your emotional discipline grows, your confidence becomes stronger because it is supported by repeated evidence that you can handle difficulty without losing yourself. Opportunities begin arriving naturally because your actions become more thoughtful, your decisions become more consistent, and your presence reflects quiet strength rather than restless urgency. Long before success becomes visible to the world, it is already taking shape within the person who has learned to master their emotions before chasing their ambitions, understanding that the greatest victories in life always begin with winning control over the mind before attempting to control anything else. Patience is one of the rarest qualities in a world that constantly rewards speed, instant gratification, and visible results. Many people believe that if something valuable does not happen quickly, it is not worth pursuing. They become frustrated when success takes longer than expected, when opportunities arrive slowly, or when recognition fails to appear immediately. As a result, they abandon goals that were only beginning to take shape. Human nature often mistakes delay for failure, yet the most meaningful achievements in life have always required time. Great character is not developed in a single day. Deep knowledge cannot be gained overnight. Lasting trust is built through years of consistent behavior, not through one impressive moment. Patience allows these things to grow naturally instead of forcing them before they are ready. Many individuals lose opportunities because they try to control every outcome. They become so focused on reaching the destination that they ignore the importance of preparation. In their anxiety, they rush decisions, enter unsuitable partnerships, change direction too often, or quit just before their efforts begin producing results. The problem is not a lack of effort, but a lack of patience. They confuse movement with progress. They believe that doing more automatically means achieving more, when in reality, thoughtful action often accomplishes far greater results than constant activity. A patient mind understands that timing is just as important as effort. There are seasons for planting, seasons for growing, and seasons for harvesting. Attempting to harvest before the roots are strong only destroys what could have become something remarkable. Consider how nature works. A tree never competes with the forest around it. It does not become anxious because another tree appears taller. It quietly continues strengthening its roots beneath the surface where no one can see. Year after year, it grows stronger, more stable, and more capable of surviving storms. Human growth follows the same principle. Much of your greatest progress happens invisibly. Every lesson learned, every discipline practiced, every challenge overcome, and every mistake corrected becomes part of a foundation that supports future success. Those who remain patient continue building while others become discouraged because they cannot immediately see the results of their work. Patience also protects you from emotional decisions. When people feel pressure to succeed quickly, they often accept opportunities that conflict with their values. They chase money without considering purpose, pursue relationships without examining compatibility, or make promises they cannot keep simply because they fear missing an opportunity. Anxiety creates urgency, and urgency often weakens judgment. Patience restores clarity because it reminds you that one delayed opportunity is far less damaging than one reckless decision. Waiting wisely is never wasted time when it is filled with preparation. Another hidden strength of patience is that it reveals the true character of both people and situations. Time exposes intentions that words often hide. Someone may make impressive promises, but only consistency proves reliability. An exciting opportunity may appear perfect at first, yet patience allows you to observe whether it truly aligns with your long-term goals. By refusing to rush, you gain information that emotional excitement would have caused you to overlook. This quiet observation prevents countless mistakes and leads to wiser choices. Patience should never be confused with inactivity. A patient person is not someone who simply waits and hopes for success. They continue learning, practicing, improving, and preparing every single day. Their calmness comes from knowing that meaningful progress is taking place even when it is not immediately visible. They trust the process because they understand that excellence is created through repeated effort rather than sudden breakthroughs. Over time, this mindset transforms every area of life. Confidence grows because it is rooted in preparation instead of urgency. Decisions become wiser because they are guided by long-term vision instead of temporary emotion. Opportunities begin appearing naturally because patience has allowed skill, character, and wisdom to mature. In the end, life often rewards those who remain steady while others become impatient, proving that true success belongs not to those who rush toward every opportunity, but to those who prepare with discipline and allow the right opportunities to arrive at the right time. Many people spend their lives chasing success without first becoming the kind of person capable of sustaining it. They pursue recognition before developing competence, seek influence before building wisdom, and desire rewards before creating real value. Human nature is often drawn toward visible outcomes because they provide immediate satisfaction. Titles, money, praise, and social recognition appear attractive because they can be seen and measured. Yet these external rewards are usually the result of something far more important that remains hidden beneath the surface. Lasting success belongs to individuals who dedicate themselves to becoming valuable rather than simply becoming successful. Value is created through knowledge, discipline, skill, and character. When these qualities are developed consistently, opportunities begin appearing naturally because people are always searching for those who can solve problems, create improvement, and inspire trust. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that appearance is more important than substance. They invest enormous energy into looking successful while neglecting the habits that produce genuine success. They speak confidently without increasing their understanding. They seek attention without earning credibility. They compare themselves with others instead of improving themselves. This creates a fragile form of confidence because it depends entirely upon external validation. The moment praise disappears, motivation begins fading as well. Genuine confidence develops differently. It grows from repeated evidence that you are becoming more capable every day. Every book you finish, every skill you strengthen, every difficult challenge you overcome, and every promise you keep becomes proof that your abilities are expanding. This quiet evidence creates self-belief that no criticism can easily destroy because it is supported by experience rather than opinion. Becoming valuable begins with your mindset. Choose learning over ego. There is always another lesson to understand, another perspective to consider, and another skill to develop. The strongest individuals never assume they have finished growing. Curiosity keeps their minds open, allowing them to adapt while others become trapped by pride. Every day presents an opportunity to improve, but improvement requires humility. You must first accept that there is always room to become wiser than you were yesterday. Alongside knowledge, cultivate practical abilities that increase your usefulness. Communication, emotional intelligence, leadership, problem solving, creativity, and discipline are qualities that remain valuable regardless of changing circumstances. Technology may evolve, industries may transform, and opportunities may shift, but people will always value those who can think clearly, solve difficult problems, and lead with integrity. Every new ability expands your independence because it reduces your reliance on luck alone. Instead of waiting for opportunities, you become capable of creating them. Character is equally important because skill without integrity eventually loses trust. People may admire talent for a short time, but they place lasting confidence in individuals whose actions consistently reflect honesty, responsibility, and reliability. Your reputation becomes stronger each time your behavior matches your values. Quiet consistency earns greater respect than dramatic promises because actions possess a credibility that words alone cannot achieve. Many people become discouraged when their efforts go unnoticed. They expect immediate recognition after only a short period of work. Yet true value often develops invisibly. Like roots growing beneath the soil, your discipline is preparing you for future opportunities long before anyone else can see the results. Continue improving even when there is no applause. Continue practicing when progress feels slow. Continue learning when others have stopped. These quiet investments eventually produce extraordinary returns because they transform the person you are becoming. As your value increases, your confidence becomes calmer. You no longer chase every opportunity out of fear because your preparation gives you patience. Others begin recognizing your reliability, your judgment, and your ability to contribute meaningfully. Opportunities arrive not because you demanded attention, but because your consistent growth made you impossible to overlook. In the end, success is rarely something that should be chased directly. It is far more often the natural consequence of becoming so valuable in your thinking, your skills, and your character that the world cannot help but recognize the quality of the person you have patiently worked to become. One of the greatest sources of unnecessary suffering is the habit of chasing people, approval, and temporary success. Many individuals spend years trying to persuade others to appreciate them, respect them, include them, or recognize their value. They believe that if they say the right words, make enough sacrifices, or work hard enough to please everyone, acceptance will finally arrive. Yet human nature teaches a different lesson. The more desperately you pursue validation, the more control you give away. Your emotional state becomes dependent upon the opinions, attention, and decisions of other people. When they approve of you, you feel worthy. When they ignore you, your confidence disappears. This is not freedom, it is emotional dependence disguised as ambition. Real confidence begins when you stop asking the world to confirm your value and begin living according to standards that you have chosen for yourself. Chasing people often creates the opposite of the result you desire. Whether in friendships, professional relationships, or personal connections, desperation rarely inspires respect. When someone constantly seeks attention, repeatedly demands reassurance, or sacrifices every boundary simply to remain accepted, others gradually begin taking that effort for granted. Respect cannot be forced through endless pursuit. It grows naturally when your presence reflects self-respect, emotional stability, and quiet confidence. The strongest relationships are built upon mutual choice, not one-sided pursuit. If someone genuinely values your presence, they will also make an effort to maintain the connection. If every interaction depends entirely upon your effort, it is worth asking whether you are chasing something that no longer exists. The same principle applies to approval. Many people spend their entire lives trying to avoid criticism. They remain silent when they should speak, hide their ambitions to avoid making others uncomfortable, and shape their identity according to public opinion. Yet approval is one of the most unstable foundations upon which a life can be built. Public opinion changes constantly. The same people who praise you today may criticize you tomorrow. If your confidence rises and falls according to these changing opinions, peace becomes impossible. Emotional maturity requires accepting that not everyone will understand your decisions, support your goals, or agree with your values. Their disagreement does not determine your worth. Your character does. Temporary success can become another dangerous pursuit when it is valued above lasting growth. Many people become obsessed with appearing successful instead of becoming capable. They chase recognition before developing skill, wealth before building discipline, and attention before earning credibility. This creates fragile success because it depends upon appearances rather than substance. Lasting achievement grows differently. It begins with quiet preparation, consistent effort, and patient improvement long before recognition ever arrives. Those who focus only on visible rewards often become discouraged because they ignore the invisible work required to sustain them. Instead of chasing outcomes, invest your energy in becoming the kind of person those outcomes naturally follow. Develop wisdom that improves your judgment. Build skills that increase your usefulness. Strengthen discipline that keeps you moving even when motivation fades. Protect your integrity because trust always outlasts popularity. As these qualities grow, something remarkable begins happening. You no longer feel the need to convince people of your worth because your actions quietly communicate it. You stop forcing relationship because mutual respect replaces desperation. You stop seeking constant validation because your confidence is supported by evidence rather than applause. This shift creates emotional freedom. You become calmer because your peace is no longer controlled by external reactions. Opportunities begin finding you because preparation has replaced impatience. Relationships become healthier because they are built upon authenticity instead of performance. Success becomes more meaningful because it reflects who you have become rather than how desperately you chased it. In time, you discover that the most valuable things in life cannot be forced. Respect is earned, trust is built, meaningful relationships grow naturally, and lasting success follows those who quietly improve themselves every day. The moment you stop chasing what constantly runs away and begin strengthening your own character, you become someone whose presence carries value without needing to demand attention. An anxious mind is constantly searching for certainty in a world where certainty rarely exists. It imagines problems before they happen, creates fears without evidence, and spends enormous amounts of energy trying to control outcomes that are beyond its influence. Many people mistake this constant worrying for responsibility. They believe that if they think about every possible problem long enough, they will somehow prevent it from happening. In reality, excessive overthinking often creates the very paralysis they are trying to avoid. Instead of making wise decisions, they become trapped in endless analysis, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. The mind becomes exhausted, confidence begins to disappear, and opportunities quietly pass by while they continue thinking instead of acting. This is why disciplined action is far more powerful than anxious thought. Action creates clarity. Endless worry creates confusion. Human nature often seeks complete certainty before taking the first step, but life rarely works that way. Confidence is not something you receive before acting. It is something you develop because you acted despite uncertainty. Every meaningful achievement begins with imperfect action. The person who starts learning despite feeling unprepared gains experience. The person who keeps practicing despite making mistakes gains competence. The person who continues moving despite temporary setbacks gradually builds resilience. Meanwhile, the individual who waits until every fear disappears often remains exactly where they started. Fear becomes stronger when it is fed by imagination and weaker when it is challenged through experience. One small step forward teaches more than 1,000 imagined scenarios. This is why disciplined action transforms both your abilities and your mindset. It replaces assumptions with evidence. Another danger of anxious overthinking is that it steals your attention from the present moment. Instead of focusing on today's responsibilities, your mind becomes consumed by tomorrow's uncertainties. You worry about conversations that have not happened, problems that may never appear, and outcomes that remain completely outside your control. While your attention is trapped in the future, the present quietly disappears, yet every meaningful improvement begins today. The habits you practice today, the knowledge you gain today, and the effort you invest today are what shape tomorrow. A disciplined person understands this principle. Rather than attempting to solve every possible future challenge at once, they concentrate on the next meaningful action they can take. This simple habit reduces anxiety because progress replaces helplessness. Discipline also creates emotional stability because it provides structure when emotions become unpredictable. There will be days when motivation disappears, confidence feels weak, and circumstances become difficult. If your progress depends entirely upon how you feel, consistency becomes impossible. A disciplined routine removes this uncertainty. You continue reading even when you do not feel inspired. You continue exercising even when comfort invites you to stop. You continue improving your skills even when recognition has not yet arrived. Over time, these repeated actions create remarkable momentum. They strengthen your identity because you begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through regardless of emotion. Every completed commitment becomes evidence that you can trust yourself. This quiet trust becomes the foundation of lasting confidence. Another powerful lesson is learning to separate what you can control from what you cannot. You cannot control other people's opinions, unexpected events, or the timing of every opportunity. You can control your preparation, your attitude, your discipline, and your response to challenges. Focusing on these areas creates peace because your energy is directed toward actions that actually influence your future. Worrying about everything else only drains the strength needed to improve what is already within your reach. As this mindset becomes part of your daily life, your thoughts begin changing. You stop measuring progress by how calm you feel and start measuring it by the actions you consistently take. You discover that disciplined effort gradually silences unnecessary fear because every small achievement reminds you that growth comes from movement rather than hesitation. Over time, your confidence no longer depends on perfect circumstances or guaranteed outcomes. It is built upon the quiet certainty that regardless of what happens, you have trained yourself to respond with patience, discipline, and steady action instead of allowing anxious overthinking to determine the direction of your life. Time is one of the greatest teachers in life because it reveals truths that emotion often hides. Many people become impatient when their efforts do not produce immediate rewards. They compare their progress to others, question their abilities, and assume that slow results are evidence of failure. Yet life has never rewarded those who demand instant success. It rewards those who remain consistent long enough for their preparation to mature into opportunity. Human nature is attracted to quick victories because they satisfy the desire for immediate recognition. However, the strongest character is rarely formed during moments of comfort or rapid achievement. It is shaped during quiet seasons when no one is watching, when progress feels invisible, and when discipline becomes the only reason to continue moving forward. These periods test whether your commitment is genuine or merely dependent on external rewards. Every great achievement begins as something ordinary. Before mastery comes practice. Before confidence comes uncertainty. Before influence comes discipline. Every person who eventually earns respect once stood at the beginning of a journey, facing doubts that seemed impossible to overcome. The difference was not extraordinary talent alone, but extraordinary persistence. They understood that meaningful progress is often too small to notice from one day to the next. Improvement compounds gradually. One book read today may not appear to change your life, yet hundreds of books shape the way you think forever. One disciplined workout may seem insignificant, yet years of consistent effort transform both body and mind. One honest decision may appear small, yet countless moments of integrity build a reputation that others come to trust. Time quietly multiplies whatever you repeatedly practice. This is why your daily habits deserve more attention than your temporary emotions. Many people abandon valuable goals simply because they expect immediate evidence that their efforts are working. They plant seeds and then become frustrated when the harvest does not appear the following morning. Nature teaches a different lesson. Every healthy tree spends years strengthening its roots before reaching impressive heights. Those unseen roots determine whether it can survive storms when they inevitably arrive. Human growth follows the same principle. The knowledge you acquire, the discipline you develop, the patience you practice, and the challenges you overcome become invisible roots supporting every future opportunity. While others focus only on visible success, wise individuals focus on becoming the kind of person capable of sustaining success when it finally arrives. Time also reveals character. Anyone can appear disciplined for a few days or motivated for a few weeks. Consistency over months and years is what separates temporary enthusiasm from lasting commitment. The person who continues showing up despite disappointment, criticism, slow progress, or temporary failure gradually becomes someone entirely different. Their confidence no longer depends upon immediate results because they have witnessed the quiet power of persistence. Every obstacle becomes another opportunity to strengthen resilience instead of another excuse to quit. This mindset transforms failure from a source of fear into a source of education. Mistakes become lessons instead of limitations because every experience contributes to greater wisdom. There is a quiet peace that comes from trusting time instead of fighting it. You stop rushing every outcome because you understand that growth cannot be forced. You continue preparing even when opportunities seem distant because you know preparation is never wasted. You remain patient because your focus shifts from chasing recognition to becoming more capable every day. As the years pass, something remarkable begins to happen. People notice your stability, your reliability, and your quiet confidence. They see someone whose strength was not created by sudden success, but by years of disciplined effort. Opportunities begin arriving because your reputation reflects consistency. Relationships deepen because your character has proven trustworthy. Success becomes more meaningful because it rests upon a foundation that time has tested repeatedly. In the end, your greatest advantage is not speed but endurance, because time always reveals the difference between those who merely seek quick rewards and those who patiently build a life strong enough to sustain every opportunity that eventually comes their way.